All right, today we're pulling back the curtain on one of the most powerful yet totally invisible rules that runs our entire digital lives. It's called channel capacity. And it's the secret reason your Netflix streams, your texts actually send, and your video calls, well, mostly work. Let's get into it.
Come on, you've definitely been there. You're in a super important meeting, and bam, your screen just freezes into this bizarre mosaic of giant squares. Or you're right at the punchline of a great story, and the call just dies. It is so frustrating, right? But it's not random. It's actually a sign of a really fundamental challenge in communication.
See, every single bit of data we send out, our voice, that video, that text message, it has to travel through what's called a channel. And that channel, whether it's the airways for your cell phone or a fiber optic cable under the ocean, is full of noise and interference. It's messy. So the big question has always been, how in the world do you send a perfect message through an imperfect, chaotic world?
And here's the answer. The single concept that basically unlocked our entire modern era is channel capacity. The best way to think of it is as the ultimate unbreakable speed limit for information. It's a hard mathematical number that tells us the absolute max amount of data you can reliably push through any channel. So where did this universal law of communication even come from? Well, it turns out we can trace it all back to a single person and a single revolutionary paper written way back in 1948.
Let me introduce you to the legend Claude Shannon. In 1948, with just one paper, he pretty much single-handedly invented the entire field of information theory. I mean, he's the guy who gave us the bit as the fundamental atom of all information. He gave us the tools to finally measure and understand communication itself. And right at the heart of his work was this incredible promise, which he called the noisy channel coding theorem. Now, before Shannon, everybody just assumed that noise was the enemy. The more noise you have, the more errors you're going to get. Period. But Shannon proved something absolutely mind-blowing. As long as you send your data below the channel's capacity, you can achieve nearly error-free communication. It was like he discovered you could have a perfectly clear conversation right in the middle of a rock concert.
So it all boils down to this really simple, razor-sharp dividing line. If your information rate, let's call it R, is less than the channel's capacity, C, you're golden. With some clever coding, you can make the chance of an error practically zero. But the second you try to push past that limit, if your rate R is greater than C, the whole system just collapses. Errors go through the roof, and your message turns into complete garbage. So really, that's the best way to picture it. It is a universal speed limit for data. It's not a friendly suggestion. It's a fundamental law of information. Just like you can't drive your car 200 miles an hour down a street built for 60, you can't just shove data through a channel faster than its capacity and expect it to arrive in one piece.
Okay, so once you understand this one simple rule, you start seeing it absolutely everywhere. It's the hidden foundation for pretty much every piece of tech we rely on today.
And what makes Shannon's theory so incredibly powerful is that it's this universal language that can model any communication problem you can think of. So when a whole bunch of cell phones are all trying to talk to the same tower at once, that's a multiple access problem. When one radio station sends its signal out to thousands of different cars, that's a broadcast problem. Even the background static your Wi-Fi is constantly fighting against can be modeled as Gaussian noise. And this is wild. The theory can even model a wiretap channel, helping us design encryption to make sure an eavesdropper gets nothing but static.
But what happens when we leave the normal world of bits and bytes and we step into the bizarre, mind-bending world of quantum mechanics? Well, things get weird.
So for more than 70 years, the rule was simple. One channel, one speed limit. But when we get down to the quantum level, all that certainty just dissolves. It turns out a quantum channel doesn't have a capacity. It can have multiple different capacities.
Wait, how is that even possible? Well, in our normal classical world, the goal is pretty straightforward. Send regular old bits of information reliably. One task, one speed limit. But in the quantum world, the speed limit actually changes depending on what you're trying to do and what tools you have. For example, if the sender and the receiver share something called quantum entanglement, you can think of it like a special private connection linking their particles, they can actually unlock a much higher capacity. So this gives us this whole family of different speed limits. There's one capacity for sending regular bits through a quantum channel. There's a totally different capacity for sending fragile quantum bits or qubits. And then there's an even higher capacity that you can unlock if you use entanglement as a kind of booster rocket. It's just a much richer and way more complex picture. So, we've gone on this journey from 1948 all the way to the quantum frontier. What's the big takeaway here? And where are we headed next?
Look, The most important thing to remember is that Shannon's theory isn't just some abstract math. It is the literal blueprint for the error-correcting codes that are built into everything, from your phone to the Mars rover. These are the genius little algorithms that are constantly detecting and fixing errors on the fly, making sure the data that arrives is the data that was actually sent. Without them, our digital world would just fall apart.
And what's so incredible is that even after more than 75 years, this field is still just packed with unsolved puzzles. You've got researchers right now hunting for simple formulas to define the capacity of weird new channels. They're wrestling with the enormous challenge of calculating capacity for complex quantum systems, and the ultimate holy grail? It's still the same, to design practical codes that let us transmit data right at that perfect Shannon limit, squeezing every last drop of potential out of a channel.
Think about it. Shannon's discovery of just one speed limit launched the entire digital revolution. Now, as we're discovering a whole new family of these limits on the quantum frontier, it just makes you wonder, what other rules, what other speed limits are still out there waiting to be discovered? And what incredible technologies are they going to unlock next?